A young boy, Max often found himself thinking back to the milestones of his life. One of the earliest was falling in love with Anne, the childhood friend who had always been by his side. For a time, everything felt perfect until tragedy struck. One night after drinking, Max got behind the wheel. The crash that followed took Anne's life.
Y la primera vez que maté al amor de mi vida.
Convicted of involuntary manslaughter, Max was sent to prison. Inside, he quickly became a target, surviving at first by paying others for protection. Eventually, after a brutal session in the washing machine, which the other inmates put him in, he began to change. The inmates started treating him as one of them. He started working on his body and mind. He became a fighter in the prison. Eventually, his good conduct earned him an early release. When he walked free, it was his father who came to collect him. The tension between them was clear, though Max kept his resentment quiet. His father told him the world was teetering on the edge of war, and his father had arranged a way for them to survive, a place inside a hidden luxury bunker.
Contigo a ningún lugar. Nunca.
Max wasn't sure he wanted to go, but his resolve shifted when he learned Anne's family would be there as well.
Tal vez es el momento de que hables con él.
On the drive, his father, Rafa, explained how much they had poured into this project. The underground refuge was part of an elite survival network managed by a woman named Manurva. She offered Europe's wealthiest families a chance to endure whatever catastrophe might come. No one knew where the bunker was located, and secrecy was the rule. As Max and his father journeyed toward the entrance, they passed through towns where people were frantically preparing to flee, fear of war hanging heavy in the air. Chimera was unlike any other place, built deep beneath a lake after years of planning and advanced construction. When Max and his father arrived, they were taken down the elevator to the underground bunker.
Ubicada en una cavidad preexistente donde hace 45 millones de años.
Soon they were outfitted with turquoise suits designed to shield them from radiation while tracking vital signs and air quality. Along with the suits came electronic wrist monitors to track their health constantly, and strict rules meant surrendering their phones. In this new world, doors opened only to hand scans.
Tengan que entrar aquí. Pero si eso sucede, no se preocupen. Mi equipo y yo estamos absolutamente...
Inside, Max reunited with his family, who were relieved to see him safe. On the television, the outside world seemed to unravel further with reports of fresh bombings and political turmoil.
Una rueda de prensa donde tilda este ataque de acto de guerra.
Anne's family was also in the bunker. Guillermo, Anne's father, received Max kindly and acknowledged his apology, but Asia, Anne's sister, could not forgive him. The weight of loss was heavy. Anne's mother had passed away not long after her daughter, and Guillermo had since remarried a woman named Mimi.
Marta falleció en un accidente de circulación.
Even within the supposed luxury of Chimera, frustration surfaced. Max's grandmother was appalled at the idea of serving herself in the dining hall. She grumbled that it would not be long before the guests were made to clean bathrooms as well. Her physician, Antonio, was sent to fetch her food, but ultimately it was Guillermo who managed to get the staff's assistance by reminding them of her illness.
Discúlpeme, en este caso excepcional yo le traeré lo que desee.
Asia brought the mood back to the tragedy of the accident, questioning Max's choices that night and his decision to flee. It was in this tense atmosphere that Manurva appeared before the guests. Her first address was direct. The outside situation had worsened, and everyone inside must be ready for the worst to come. She declared herself the ultimate authority within the bunker and stressed that her rules would be absolute. To keep morale up, she suggested simple work and lighthearted distractions.
Y ahora pueden seguir disfrutando de su comida. Gracias.
Later, Guillermo revealed his hatred to Max. He never forgave him, and he was pretending. When Mimi tried to calm him down, he lashed out at her. He told her just how little he valued their marriage. He admitted that grief and poor judgment had driven him into their relationship and dismissed her as nothing more than a replacement for what he truly wanted. Mimi, already struggling to fit in, was left crushed by this. At the gym, Max confronted Asia, handing her Anne's old phone as a reminder to let go of the bitterness she carried.
Me lo llevé yo el día del accidente.
Fui varias veces a buscarlo en aquella carretera por si había salido despedido.
Back in her bunker, Asia started watching the videos on the phone. Elsewhere, Guillermo pushed the limits at the bar, demanding more alcohol than the strict ration allowed. When the bartender refused, Rafa stepped in and gave Guillermo his own share to defuse the situation. The moment was interrupted by a violent tremor. The bunker shook, the lights cut out, and a blast tore through the wall near the bar. Panic spread quickly. Guests ran toward the dome while Mimi went searching for her father. Asia found Max and Rafa helping Guillermo, and with the bartender's assistance, they managed to get everyone to the elevator. It stalled midway, threatening to plummet, before the emergency brakes jolted it to a stop. Eventually, they reached the dome, where the staff tended to injuries. Mimi avoided Guillermo completely, giving him the cold shoulder. Manurva then addressed the shaken crowd. She revealed that a nuclear detonation had occurred nearby. Behind her, a wall of televisions flickered with grim images of more bombs detonating across cities.
Recibirán noticias en directo de todas las cadenas que capten nuestras antenas.
The feed soon collapsed into static as another tremor rattled the bunker. Manurva rushed to the control room, leaving the guests stunned in silence.
Una escalada nuclear no pasa en horas.
In the darkness, Rafa made a painful confession. On the night of the accident, he had told Max to flee the scene in order to protect him from the consequences of driving drunk. It had torn Max apart to leave Anne behind, but he obeyed. Later, however, Rafa chose to testify truthfully in court, sending his son to prison in the name of responsibility.
¿Nos puede, por favor, relatar lo que ocurrió?
Escuché un ruido, me asomé a la ventana y vi el coche.
The revelation ripped through the family. Max's grandmother attacked Rafa with biting words, but Max's mother interrupted, saying the real fault was hers. She revealed that her own cold upbringing had left her desperate for affection, leading her into a loveless bond with Rafa. She admitted she had never truly loved him, only used him as an escape from her mother's harshness.
Que igual no era amor.
Manurva soon returned with another announcement. Communication with the outside world had failed, so 2 volunteers would be sent above ground to inspect the antenna. To maintain transparency, the mission would be broadcast live.
Cámara 1, funcionando.
Everyone watched the feed as 2 figures in protective suits stepped into the glowing haze. The sight was bleak. Corpses scattered across a bridge and desolate silence in every direction. Disaster struck when Luca, one of the pair, snagged his glove on the railing and was exposed to radiation. The 2 scrambled back to the bunker, but Luca's contamination was clear. The broadcast abruptly ended, and Manurva reassured the guests she would update them. She then withdrew to the control room, where her demeanor shifted completely.
Se lo han creído todo.
Behind closed doors, she celebrated with her team. The catastrophe outside had been nothing more than a carefully orchestrated simulation, and the world had not ended after all. The truth behind Chimera unraveled in a flashback. Manurva and her brother Zyro had plotted the entire simulation long before the first guests even boarded the plane. They waited patiently for the right political climate, then crafted their own version of World War III. The news broadcasts, the trembling walls, and even the supposed tectonic shifts were nothing more than carefully staged illusions.
Descansará sobre una plataforma mecanizada, similar a la de los sistemas antisísmicos, que nos permitirá mover todo el complejo.
Actors and a hired director carried out their vision, and sensory tricks made it impossible for the residents to doubt what they saw or felt. Even the near-fatal elevator malfunction was another staged scare, designed to make survival feel miraculous. All of it fed into a greater scheme, to keep the wealthy guests trapped while Manurva orchestrated a massive heist. Back in the present, Max tried to console his mother while staff tended to the wounded. Despite the chaos, Guillermo offered Rafa words of support, though Rafa's mind remained fixed on his crumbling marriage.
¿Tú te imaginas qué tristeza aquí dentro? Solo.
Mimi sought reassurance about Luca's condition and was told his radiation exposure was minor. Meanwhile, Asia slipped away to revisit Anne's videos, but was startled by the sound of someone choking in a nearby bathroom. Her instincts as a medical student kicked in, and she called for help. Julia's team managed to revive the woman, but gratitude was replaced by rage. The survivor lashed out, resenting Asia for interfering.
¿Qué habéis hecho?
The outburst left Julia deeply unsettled. She warned Manurva that the guest's mental health was deteriorating, but Manurva brushed her off, reminding Julia that she had agreed to the risk from the start.
Así que si sientes miedo, te aprietas los machos y tiras pa'lante.
Later, Manurva reassured the bunker's residents that the immediate danger had passed and encouraged them to return to their routines. That night, Rafa and Frida finally faced their fractured marriage. For the first time in decades, they spoke openly. Frida declared it was over and walked away, leaving Rafa desperate and humiliated. His denial boiled over into anger, and he stormed the dining hall, grabbing food by force. Watching from the control room, Manurva sent guards to contain him.
Jaco, comedor.
¡No comí!
When one guard tased Rafa, Max intervened. He fought back, seized the weapon, and held off the security team.
¿Quieres algo más, papá?
The rebellion was short-lived. Manurva ordered her men to stand down and allowed Max and Rafa to leave, though the guard Max defeated, Jaco, began nursing a grudge. The next morning, Guillermo softened toward Mimi, and they reconciled in intimacy. Asia, meanwhile, lost herself in Anne's old videos. The recordings of Anna and Max's love stirred jealousy, even arousal, when she stumbled across a private clip. Soon after, guards summoned Mimi, Max's grandmother, Victoria, and several others with rare blood types. Suspicious, Asia offered to accompany Mimi, and Max followed them toward the infirmary. Before entering, Max confronted Asia, demanding his phone back. She admitted she had thrown it away.
¿Qué coño no hacía?
No, Max, te estoy diciendo que era demasiado doloroso, ¿no?
Inside, Julia and the staff staged another performance. In front of horrified onlookers, they pretended Luca's condition was critical. His skin burned, his survival uncertain.
Vamos a inducirlo en coma.
The spectacle sent ripples of fear through the bunker, just as Manurva intended. Once outside, the witnesses spread the grim story, deepening the residents' despair.
¿Quién?
Mimi, ¿quién?
El hombre que se le arregla la antena, ¿te acuerdas?
Julia, however, grew even more troubled by the lies she was helping to maintain. Her relationship with Manurva began to collapse under the strain. In the control room, she confronted her partner, demanding to leave and threatening to expose the truth. Manurva begged for trust, but Julia finally recognized the madness of the plan.
Ay, me he dado cuenta de que esto es el final.
Zero intervened, trying to pacify her with medication. When Julia refused and attempted to walk away, his desperation turned violent. In a moment of rage, he shoved her over the railing, killing her instantly. Guillermo's past was marked by privilege. Born into wealth, he didn't just inherit his family's fortune, he expanded it. By his 20s, he was steering the family empire into new ventures and multiplying its success.
Electrónicos, tecnología y náutica. Entre sus aficiones destaca la escudería.
During the planning, Manurva kept rallying her team. She reminded them that the so-called American dream was an illusion. Fighting capitalism was pointless, she said. It's better to exploit it. Her pitch was simple. Their plan carried little risk, no outright murder, and the potential for enormous gain.
Sin pistolas, sin riesgos, y sin muertos.
In the present, Julia's body is discovered. Staff members had found her body and demanded answers. Zero claimed Julia had suffered a breakdown and thrown herself over the railing.
Se diría que presentaba un ataque de ansiedad.
Elsewhere in the bunker, Frida reconciled with Victoria. Their conversation was tender, with Frida admitting she wanted a fresh start and her mother offering nothing but encouragement. When Garcia asked for proof, Zero showed footage that backed the story. Convinced, the staff accepted that Julia had taken her own life. Max, on the other hand, tried again to reach Asia. Though she brushed him off at first, he sat with her anyway, managing to spark a faint smile. But when he jokingly asked for her share of breakfast, Asia walked away from the table. Rafa, unwanted at his family's table, sat elsewhere. But the family on that table was not welcoming either.
No importa ya, me busco otro sitio.
Soon, the artificial intelligence system, Roxanne, summoned everyone to the dome for an emergency gathering. There, Manurva delivered grim news. Julia died because she couldn't handle the stress and gave up, and Luca by radiation exposure.
Les advertí que la desesperanza era el peor enemigo que íbamos a tener aquí abajo.
Effective immediately, the lockdown would be indefinite and rations would begin. She called out Max and Rafa by name, demanding the taser be returned within 10 minutes. Defiance, she warned, could cost everyone their survival. The announcement unsettled the residents. Mimi mourned Luca and Julia's deaths, while Guillermo admitted that he used to calm his nerves by flipping through old photographs, something now impossible.
Ahora me doy cuenta que ya no tenemos esas fotografías.
Asia regretted discarding Anne's phone. She then went out and asked Tirso, a staff member, to take her to the waste compactors. She told him she lost her sister's bracelet.
Esperarla. Por favor.
In another corner of the bunker, Guillermo and Mimi gave in to passion, unaware that hidden cameras were recording them. Manurva used such footage to feed Roxanne's learning system, training it to mimic the residents. A flashback revealed that Manurva had instructed guests to record farewell messages before their trip, while Roxanne was built to cover for them if outside callers grew suspicious. Stripped of their phones, the guests never realized they were being impersonated.
Porque los habrán dejado en sus taquillas como parte del protocolo de seguridad del búnker.
At that moment, Guillermo's business partner, Oswaldo, kept trying to reach him, so Zero had Roxanne send back a convincing reply.
Envíalo.
Mensaje enviado.
As days wore on, Victoria began showing interest in Mimi, much to Frida's annoyance. Victoria teased her daughter, suggesting she needed a man herself to brighten her life. Asia and Tirso descended into the waste disposal area. When the compactor roared to life, he urged her to get out. After pretending to retrieve the bracelet she claimed she'd lost, she finally left with him. Outside, Tirso stopped her. He had clearly seen her pocket a phone. Pressed, Asia admitted it was Anne's phone, the one she had thrown away earlier because she couldn't bear to read Max's messages anymore.
Es un macarra. Es un indolente. Que ni siquiera siente empatía por lo que está pasando ahí fuera.
Meanwhile, Minerva grew impatient when Max didn't return the taser on time. She sent Jaco after him. Minerva and Zero spoke privately. Zero confessed to his sister that killing Julia had been impulsive.
Romántica. Perdón.
Minerva forgave him and ordered Julia's clone to be brought up. Julia, it turned out, had been the first test subject for Roxanne's experiments. Talking to Julia's clone device gave Minerva a sense of comfort.
Nadie dijo que las cosas fueran a ser fáciles.
Back in the gym, a fight started between Max and Jaco. They traded blows until Max landed a knockout punch. Jaco collapsed, his earpiece skidding across the floor. Asia arrived just in time to find Max bloodied and standing over the guard's unconscious body. Jaco was rushed to the infirmary, barely clinging to life. Panic set in. With Julia gone, there was no doctor to lead the team. Staff argued over whether to sneak Jaco to a hospital or bring another doctor inside, both choices carrying massive risks.
45 pulsaciones y sigue bajando. Entraré en parada.
Max stayed behind in shock, his hands trembling as he realized how far things had gone. Asia approached him slowly, noticing the cut on his head and the way his shoulder hung at an odd angle. She told him he needed stitches and gently began resetting his arm.
La bici de marchas que me la robaron.
Joder! Minerva decided to call Asia. They found her in the gym tending to Max and asked her to help. She was unqualified and hadn't graduated, but with no other option, she did her best and managed to stabilize Jaco. It worked and Jaco opened his eyes. While this unfolded, Luca reported from the control room that Oswaldo had been calling nonstop. His messages for Guillermo were urgent, promising life-changing news they had waited 20 years to hear. Zero knew they had to act carefully. Meanwhile, Minerva lashed out at Max. She accused him of nearly killing Jaco and warned him to stop stirring chaos. To make her point, she shocked him with the taser before confiscating the one he took, reminding him that she was the one in control.
¿Qué cosa en la ceja?
Elsewhere, Victoria, Mimi, Frida, and other guests were taken to the highest level of the bunker and given radios to search for survivors. But it was all part of the ruse. The radios weren't connected to anything. While there, Victoria encouraged Frida to forget Rafa and find a younger man.
Esto uno vistos todos. De buscarte un amante sería un cabrón triunfador.
In another part of the bunker, Rafa sat with a therapy group, admitting that life with Frida had felt like being married to an AI, as cold and distant as Roxanne itself. Guillermo tried to reassure him, but Zero seized the moment and requested Guillermo to open up so Roxanne could better imitate him.
Es la paradoja absurda del millonario.
At the same time, Victoria pretends Frida heard a sound through the radio to wedge herself closer to Mimi.
Está medicada con morfina.
Later, Guillermo spoke privately with a staff member, Ingrid, trying to push Rafa toward moving on. He went on about male pride, insisting Rafa needed to reclaim his strength. Meanwhile, Mimi painted Guillermo as a cheater whose new marriage had redeemed him, twisting the truth to get Mimi to open up.
Si tu marido se acuesta con 5 o con 6, pues mejor que con una.
¿Cómo le decías eso? ¿Por qué?
Their conversation was cut short when a civilian plane asked permission to land. Through the radios, the guests listened as a military voice denied the request, and the aircraft was allegedly destroyed. It was all staged.
¡Hay fuel! Please, let us land. Please have mercy.
At the spa, Rafa met Elena, the woman who had recently attempted to end it. Their shared sense of despair drew them into conversation.
¿Tú podrías hacer alguna? A ver si consigo dormir un poquito.
While all of this played out, Asia stitched Max's wound. Her hands shook from the confusing pull she felt toward him. Overwhelmed, she fled before finishing.
No puedo más. No puedo.
Oswaldo left another message. If Guillermo didn't respond, he would escalate and involve the Philippine ambassador. Zero insisted Roxanne wasn't ready to impersonate Guillermo, but they had no choice. A flashback revealed that even the staff sometimes struggled to tell Roxanne's clones from the real people.
Porque soy una réplica virtual.
In the present, Zero used Roxanne to copy Guillermo's mannerisms and call Oswaldo. The call revealed that Oswaldo was close to finalizing a deal Guillermo had been chasing for 2 decades.
Varias conversaciones con él. No somos la única oferta, pero parece que se decanta por nosotros.
However, the CEO, Orduna, demanded to see Guillermo in person before selling and hinted that a mysterious condition called BJ3 had to be included in the deal. Roxanne couldn't interpret what BJ3 meant, forcing them to stall with fake network issues.
¿Algún término coincidente con BJ3 a las empresas del Grupo Falcón?
Max confronted Asia, but she lashed out, calling him a monster and insisting she hated him. Inside, though, her feelings betrayed her. She can't stop imagining kissing him. She then walked away with tears in her eyes. Minerva's nerves began to fray as the mystery of BJ3 threatened to unravel her plan. A flashback revealed why she clung so fiercely to control. When she was 12 and Zyro only 6, their mother abandoned them. From then on, Minerva took on the role of protector. The siblings made pacts never to be separated, and she pushed them both toward education, believing it was their way out of poverty.
Y así empezaron a caer las becas. A los 24 años, Ciro ya tenía 3 carreras.
But no matter how hard they worked, the ceiling never lifted. Her first big break, building a high-speed train in the desert, opened her eyes. The wealthy always won, while she was left struggling. From that realization, the bunker scheme was born. Back in the present, the mystery cleared. BJ3 wasn't a code. It was Anne's prize horse, Fiero. The animal, worth 40 million euros, had a bloodline of champions and deep sentimental value for Guillermo. Manurva realized Orduna's demand was deliberate humiliation, a test of Guillermo's pride. She checked the horse's records while Oswaldo kept calling. Using Roxanne, they tricked Oswaldo into believing Guillermo would part with Fiero. Oswaldo requested the horse's documents, which meant they needed Guillermo's safe code. Roxanne didn't know it, so Oswaldo was told to call back the next morning. That gave them 12 hours to unlock the code.
Hay que conseguir esa clave antes de que amanezca.
Minerva pushed Ingrid to work on Guillermo, who lingered at the bar. Meanwhile, Rafa and Elena shared laughter. Guillermo gave them drinks to make the fun better.
Vas a tener que emplearte a fondo. Solo tenemos esta noche.
Elsewhere, Max wandered back to the gym. Moving restlessly, he tried to reclaim his sense of purpose and stumbled across Yako's earpiece. Listening in, he caught fragments of his father's conversation before Minerva silenced the channel and sent Cindy to retrieve it.
Dame eso.
In the infirmary, Yako recovered enough to flirt with Asia, grateful for her help. Cindy offered to treat Max's wounds. As they walked, they crossed paths with Asia. Max, still stung, ignored her. Cindy took Max to the infirmary, where he drank all the alcohol meant to treat him. Max then started asking where the mics are, but Cindy brushed it off. Asia went to Tirso and asked him to give her a hug. Tirdo did, which Minerva found amusing from a distance.
Increíble. Tirso no es su amigo. En realidad es el encargado de vigilarla.
Mimi, meanwhile, searched for Guillermo and stumbled into Victoria and Frida. Later, Max went to his father at the bar, voicing suspicion about microphones and constant surveillance. His timing disrupted Ingrid's progress with Guillermo, enraging Minerva.
Le hemos jodido.
Ingrid, no dejes que se vaya. Es Cindy la que tiene que llevarse a Max.
To get the situation under control, Ingrid took Guillermo to Minerva's office. Soon after, Frida secretly trailed Guillermo and Ingrid to Minerva's office. She ran back to tell Mimi, who snapped and went to confront Guillermo herself. Manurva stalled her by locking the elevators. Inside the office, Ingrid coaxed Guillermo into a game of truth and lies, using her training in physiognomy to extract the 7-digit passcode.
En una hamaca de la piscina. 2-0.
Mimi's fury pushed her to pry open the doors with her bare hands and climb out. By the time Mimi burst in and broke things off with Guillermo, the staff had already gotten what they wanted.
¿Por qué no vamos a volver a estar juntos?
Back in the club, Rafa, Max, and Elena tried to lose themselves in drinks and music. Cindy reappeared to shepherd Max back to his room, while Asia secluded herself with Anne's old videos. Guillermo barged in and exploded upon discovering she had the phone, assuming Max had given it to her. Fueled by rage, he stormed to Max's room and attacked him. Max didn't fight back. Guillermo accused him of twisting Asia's emotions and went further, blaming him for Marta's death. The violence ended when Frida rushed in and smashed a vase over Guillermo's head. After tending to Max, she turned her attention to Guillermo. Their confrontation shifted into confession, then passion. Frida admitted she no longer wanted their affair to remain hidden. After 28 years as secret lovers, she was ready for more. After securing Guillermo's safe code, the staff gathered to debrief. The room split in mood. Some were skeptical that Guillermo had given Ingrid the real numbers, while others were too exhausted to care. If the code proved genuine, they could finally move into the third phase of Minerva's scheme.
El desfalco más grande de la historia.
Elsewhere, Mimi began feeling unwell. She excused herself quietly, and Victoria, Antonio, and Frida assumed she only needed space to grieve the collapse of her marriage. Mimi wandered off, alone with her thoughts. At the gym, Asia tried to explain herself to Max, but he cut her off. He accused her of hiding from reality, of wasting her life by settling for mediocrity. His words hit hard. Asia's true feelings surfaced at last, though she convinced herself it was too late. Max hated her.
Estoy enamorada de Max. Desde siempre. Y ahora.
Outside the bunker, Oswaldo arrived at Guillermo's house. Believing Roxane's impersonation of Guillermo, he asked for an 8-digit code. Manurva panicked when she realized they only had 7 digits.
Ya no habrá marcha atrás.
¿Por qué sabe que son 8 números? Igual su caja fuerte tiene 8 números y esta 7.
By luck, Oswaldo recognized the numbers as Anne's birthday and added the final digit himself. He retrieved BJ3's documents while Manurva celebrated from the control room. The virtual Guillermo urged Oswaldo to move fast, close the deal, and fly to Bangkok to purchase a unicorn company.
A Bangkok y compres una empresa en 72 horas. Encontré un unicornio.
The reality was darker. Manurva and Zero had spent years fabricating profitable but fake startups, planning to funnel Oswaldo's investment through layers until the money was impossible to trace.
Y tendremos una gran fortuna hecha de pequeñas fortunas que...
Meanwhile, Max tried to push Rafa toward Elena, telling him to stop obsessing over his mother and enjoy the moment.
Nunca te he visto bailar con mamá como bailabas ayer con Elena.
Later, Max entered Minerva's office demanding answers. He accused her of planting microphones in the guest bracelets. Minerva neither denied nor admitted it, but spoke coldly of human nature. Given enough time, she said, the guests would turn on each other. The surveillance and restrictions weren't cruelty, but necessary safeguards for survival.
Yo me he comprometido a salvaros la vida.
As she was saying all this, Max dropped her computer to cause a distraction and slipped a book in his pocket. Elsewhere in the bunker, Frida lured Guillermo to the spa. Back in the dome, Mimi's health deteriorated. Back in the spa, Frida pressed him to come clean about their decades-long affair and start fresh with her. She argued she was unlike the others in his life, that she was his true love. Meanwhile, Mimi collapsed. After their intimacy, Frida told Guillermo to apologize to Max. After he left, she confronted Ingrid, warning her to keep her distance.
Como vuelvas a acercarte a Guillermo, la que coge el extintor soy yo.
The surveillance team saw Mimi in the dome. Minerva rushed to fetch Asia. With Roxane's assistance, Asia diagnosed Mimi with hepatic encephalopathy. A dialysis machine would be needed, but they had none. Roxane suggested an alternative treatment. Mimi, weak but lucid, begged Asia to keep Guillermo away from her bedside.
Me está matando.
Guillermo soon appeared, desperate to see her, but Asia turned him away. Frustrated, he retreated to the bar, drowning his pain in liquor. There he encountered Max, and for the first time, broke down in front of him. His tears carried an old fear that another woman he loved was about to die.
Yo sí voy a hacer algo.
After this, Max walked with Asia, whispering as though forming a plan. Watching from a distance, Jaco glared at him. Max pulled Asia aside into the bathroom, lowering his voice and signaling toward their bracelets. He hinted that the staff was listening in. To keep up appearances, he flirted with her while secretly flashing a set of cards in his hand. On them, he outlined his real plan: escape the bunker, reach a nearby hospital he had seen marked on Manurva's map, and secure a dialysis machine for Mimi. Asia played along, pretending to give in to Max's advances, and agreed to help. Jaco was listening from his station. Frustrated that Asia hadn't fallen for his attempt at seduction, he vowed not to back down. Later, Max explained the next step: disabling the security system. Asia worried the move could endanger everyone, but Max's determination convinced her. They agreed to pretend they were in a relationship to mask their secret partnership. Max told her to bring surgical tape and a Bluetooth speaker to his room. Asia returned briefly to check on Mimi and found Victoria there. Victoria persuaded her to leave Mimi in Antonio's care and join her instead.
¿No crees que va a estar mucho mejor allí?
Meanwhile, Oswaldo called Guillermo during his flight to Bangkok. He suggested delaying the deal, but virtual Guillermo reassured him that it was safe. The company, carefully crafted by Manurva and Zero, looked like a legitimate investment.
Eso está, ¿eh? Será toda nuestra.
Back in the bunker, Max warned Rafa not to question Asia's visits. Rafa was moved that his son trusted him again. He confessed that he hadn't only testified against Max out of justice. Guillermo had threatened to have Max killed if Rafa didn't. Max's anger boiled over, wondering why Rafa wasn't furious about the betrayal. Rafa explained that his bond with Guillermo complicated things. Afterward, he went to meet Elena. In Victoria's private quarters, Mimi sank deeper into despair, but Victoria refused to indulge her self-pity. She applied a morphine patch, pushing Mimi into docility. At the gym, Frida and Guillermo played basketball. During the game, she pressed him to reveal their long affair publicly. His refusal crushed her. He claimed Rafa's friendship mattered more. She kissed him goodbye, saying he needed to sort out his priorities.
Ya me contarás. ¿Qué tal te apañas?
Me voy al gym.
That evening, Asia slipped into Max's bunker as planned. They covered Roxanne's sensors, blasted music from the speakers, and spoke freely. Asia apologized for her harsh words, admitting she was finished hiding from life. She committed fully to Max's escape plan. He had already located a hidden emergency exit, but needed tools to drill through the wall. Asia promised to distract the staff, mentioning she could build a bomb if needed. Their closeness made her flustered, and Max asked her to remain in his room while he searched for equipment.
¿Te vale?
Later, Rafa and Guillermo shared a heavy moment about Marta's death. Guillermo asked Rafa what they talked about before her death because he saw a 7-minute call history. Rafa revealed that before her death, Marta had called him to say she forgave Max.
Eso muestra la calidad humana que yo tenía. En ese momento, hacer una llamada de perdón.
While waiting, Asia pulled on Max's shirt and put it on, taking on his scent. She lay on his bed, eventually falling asleep. Elsewhere, Frida stoked Guillermo's jealousy by sleeping with Jaco. In Bangkok, Oswaldo arrived at the supposed startup and was appalled by the chaos. He called Guillermo in disbelief, telling him what he witnessed.
De la oficina con un patinete. Bueno, estos dos. Un tío raro.
Back in the bunker, Max returned with stolen tools. Together, he and Asia drilled into the wall of his quarters. Using Asia's surgical clips, they tapped into the wiring and caused a circuit failure. Oswaldo is also relieved because someone else had already bought the company. Suddenly, the entire system shut down. In that moment, Guillermo's video call with Oswaldo dropped. On Oswaldo's screen, one strange word appeared: Roxanne. Oswaldo tried calling Guillermo again, but the line kept failing. Manurva and Zero scrambled to find out what had gone wrong. Manurva grew tense as Max and Asia quietly covered their tracks, timing how long it took Roxanne to reboot: 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
2 minutos 45 segundos.
In Bangkok, Oswaldo left a message saying he was leaving after failing to secure the company. Just as he headed for the airport, virtual Guillermo called him back. He was told about a hotel room that was already reserved for him. It was already wired with cameras. Back in the bunker, tension rose. Max nearly fought Yako to distract him, but Yako told Max he slept with his mother, making the fight real. Asia used the chaos to swipe 2 earpieces from the security office.
Yo voy a hablar con mi madre.
Max confronted Frida afterward, only to hear blunt details about her affair with Guillermo. Her cruel honesty crushed him, and he stormed out.
Y mucho más falsa.
Elsewhere, Mimi, numbed by morphine in Victoria's quarters, slept with her. Back in his quarters, Max pulled the covers over himself, trying to disappear. Asia slipped in beside him, listening as he admitted the truth he had carried for years, that he had never felt wanted, that his family filled him with disgust, and that all he craved was a life beyond the bunker's walls.
¿Y tú, en cuál quieres vivir?
Later, he confided in Rafa, revealing that his mother's secret love affair with Guillermo had lasted nearly 3 decades, and that Guillermo had always been the man she truly wanted.
Bueno, en realidad, no es amante. Es el amor de su vida.
When Max returned to Asia, he told her he wanted closeness, but not while under constant watch. He sliced off his bracelet and spoke into it one last time, promising Manurva he would wear it again afterward. Yako overheard the act, seething with anger, but Manurva brushed it aside, dismissing it as nothing more than 2 young people seeking a bit of privacy.
Coito juvenil. Me doy por informada.
Guillermo found Mimi and Victoria sleeping together. Mimi dismissed him, and Victoria mocked his pride. Reeling, Guillermo ran to Rafa, who urged him to help him reconcile with Frida.
Ahora. Está en el comedor, la he visto pasar.
Instead, Guillermo confronted Frida violently. She overpowered him, broke his nose, and issued another ultimatum.
A partir de ahora vas a ser tú el sumiso.
Watching, Rafa revealed the truth. Marta's death came after learning of Guillermo's infidelity with Mimi. He admitted he had told Marta that Guillermo always valued mistresses more than her.
Así que el autor intelectual.
That evening, virtual Guillermo arranged a dinner for Oswaldo, where Ingrid waited. She played her role well, seducing Oswaldo with the story of a daughter losing her mother. Through the night, her team slipped small doses of ecstasy into his drinks.
Oxitocina, serotonina, dopamina.
Oswaldo spent the night partying. Meanwhile, Asia and Max carried out their plan. Asia drugged Tirso, stole his uniform, and used the disguise to collect the tools they needed. Exhausted, drugged, and off balance, Oswaldo returned to his hotel. But before anything could happen with Ingrid, she pretended her father called her and left. The next day, before he could even rest, Oswaldo was called again. Guillermo ordered him to meet the CEO immediately and win the bid at all costs. At the sweltering, overheated offices of the supposed startup, the pressure finally broke him. Drenched in sweat, desperate to prove himself, Oswaldo agreed to buy the company for 900 million euros. Asia and Max triggered another short circuit. Manurva waited for the transfer, and when it finally reached her bank, the team celebrated. Now it was time to deal with the issue at hand. Max and Asia detonated their makeshift bomb and shut the system down. In the confusion, Max slipped into the emergency stairwell and began climbing. Yako caught Asia and found her staged in bed with Tirso, but Manurva brushed it off as a love affair. But he pulled his gun on her.
Vístete ahora mismo. Te vienes conmigo.
Far away, Oswaldo boarded his flight. From the window, he spotted a billboard of the actress who had played Ingrid's mother. Alarm bells rang. He checked Ingrid's social media profile, only for it to vanish before his eyes. He remembered seeing the word Chimera in Guillermo's safe and searched for it online, but found nothing. The truth began to take shape. He had been scammed. He ordered the pilot to turn back, returning to Bangkok.
¡Corre! Dile al piloto que dé la vuelta ahora mismo. Aterrizamos de nuevo.
Back in the bunker, Manurva came to Asia's bunker and told her she is in cardiac arrest. Yako told Manurva that Max is behind everything.
Lo que todavía no sé es para qué.
Para salir de aquí.
Asia tried to save Mimi, who had been overdosed with morphine by Victoria and Antonio.
Y tú has permitido esto, Antonio.
Oswaldo found the office deserted. In desperation, he called Guillermo's number, asking about Chimera, and then a private nickname he used to call him in college. Roxanne couldn't answer. Realizing the lie, Oswaldo vowed to alert the police.
Mira, no sé con quién coño estoy hablando, pero esto es una estafa a gran escala y voy a denunciarlo a la policía.
In her grief, Asia begged Max through their earpieces not to leave. She confessed her love, pleading with him to stay. But Max's heart was too heavy. His family's betrayals and Mimi's death had drained his will to remain underground.
Eres lo más bonito que queda en el mundo. Así.
Manurva acted swiftly. She sent Ingrid and Luca to silence him. Before Oswaldo could make his report, they killed him and staged the death as an accident.
Please, I need that.
Yako closed in on him, but Max pushed forward. Max reached the elevator and pry open the main door, stepping into the unknown beyond.